everybody, this is Kelly Williams with The Kelly Williams Show and Your Home TV, and it's time for The Kelly Williams Show. Yay! Okay, so I am really excited tonight because I've got the amazing, that's right, Lorenzo Lamas right here on the show, and we're going to find out all about his amazing life and careers in just a minute. Hey everybody, it's time to tune in and turn on your happy. You're watching The Kelly Williams Show. Don't forget you can watch it anytime on the best network ever, Your Home TV. And you can also stream it live on Roku. So get ready, because it's time for The Kelly Williams Show. All right.
Very cute. I love your title. It's really cute. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to ask you, first of all, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I couldn't be happier. I just recently, last April, retired from my decade of flying helicopters professionally. I started in Las Vegas flying tours there to the Grand Canyon. Then I went to New York, took a charter job there, lived there for a few years, then finally returned to Southern California, flew there for, I guess, the last 6 years, flying for a company that takes people to Catalina Island from that little heliport by the Queen Mary, if anybody is familiar.
Oh, yeah. That's very cool.
There's a very little heliport there. That wasn't our base. Our base was at the Long Beach airport, where all the aircraft would get maintenance overnight. But no, it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. But it was kind of time to do other things, maybe get back into doing some acting. So last year, did a couple of projects last year. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Well, we are going to delve into all of that and as the show goes on. But I want to know, where are you from?
I was born in Santa Monica, California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm a West Coast, Pacific Ocean, beach bum. And
I love that.
Then I moved to New York the first time with my mom and my sister. My mom got a job. She was a beauty consultant for Sears and Roebuck. She had her own cosmetic company for a while. So we moved to New York when I was young, like 10, and then back out to California for my junior high school, a couple of years. And then mom got another job through her company, back to New York, and I went to New Jersey to a military school, a naval prep school. So
yeah, that's very cool.
I've been back, and it was very cold is what it was.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I consider myself a Southern California guy,
yeah.
California's my home, and we hear a lot of negative stuff about California. It's expensive. There's no question about it. There are some questionable people at the helm running that place. But it is still the most beautiful state, I feel, in our country. And there's so many diverse things to do. When you live in Los Angeles, you could go swim in the ocean, you could ski and ride dirt bikes in the desert all in the same day.
That's amazing.
It's an incredible, diverse place.
That's incredible. Lorenzo, I want to ask you, when did you know that you wanted to act?
Probably after high school. And I was in junior college, just taking a year off before, because I was going to UC Santa Barbara. I was enrolled to go there, but I had a talk with my dad. And we sat outside on the patio, and just he wanted to know where my head was at. Was I ready to go back to school in the fall? And I said, well, I guess. He goes, well, that's not a real answer. I've got to pay your tuition there. I didn't get a scholarship. So he goes, I want to know why you want to go to college. And I go, well, my plan is to be a veterinarian. And he goes, okay, so you're going to take animal sciences, take some different chemistry courses, all that stuff for your, pre-grad and all that. And I said, yep, that's the plan. He goes, well, do you think you'll really be happy being a veterinarian? And I thought that was he'd never asked me that question before. I mean, he knew all through high school that I wanted to be a vet. That's all I talked about, when I came home from school, is how I wanted to figure out, what's making this little critter sad or hurting.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting.
He never asked me that question before. So I hesitated a little bit. And then he delved further. He said, now, would you really be happy, 10 years from now, with your lab coat on, in your office, swabbing a beagle's ear? Or is there something else that you want to do? And I just thought about it. I go, oh, I don't know. I mean, I've been to the set when you're working as a director, and I never thought of acting. But he goes, no, I'm not talking about acting. You choose another career. And I go, well, I really think if there was anything else, I might want to do that.
Yeah.
And he goes, it was a long pause. And then he said, oh, shit. Because he then said, well, maybe you ought to take a year off.
Yeah.
Enroll at Santa Monica City College, take some courses, do a theater course, and see if it's something that you like. I mean, he was being very honest and very pragmatic. Plus, I don't think he wanted to pay for college. So
exactly.
I mean, in a way, he was kind of giving me a road out,
Well, and I think it's really interesting that your dad, you came from like a Hollywood family. I mean, both of your parents. And so a lot of times, we'll talk about your children later in the show, but a lot of times, because they know the hard road and what it takes to really be successful, a lot of times they don't really want their kids going into acting. So for him to sit there and say, listen, is this what you really, really want to do? And then you tell him, yeah, I really think I want to kind of get into that. Then him saying, okay, then let's do it this way, if that's what you think you want to do. I mean, that's very supportive.
It was very supportive. And
yeah.
And my mom, and when I called my mom in New York and told her that I was not going to be going to UCSB that fall.
Yeah.
That I was going to go to junior college and really try to figure out what I wanted. She was 100% supportive as well. So
I love that for you.
Yeah. So I started working. Esther, my stepmom, found
amazing.
Esther was the classified ad queen.
Amazing.
If there was anything that Dad needed or I needed, whether it was a deal on tires for their cars, I mean, she hit the classifieds, before Google.
Love that.
We had to all read the paper. And
exactly.
We didn't have everything right here.
No. And it was good. It was nice.
Yeah. So we had to do a little research, and she was a great researcher. So she found a job for me, working at Jack LaLanne's European Health Spa.
What?
So this is 1976. This was prior to the fitness craze.
Yeah.
Of the 80s. It was just at the beginning of that, and people were going to the gym, but there were men's days and ladies' days. Nobody worked out.
Oh, that's crazy.
On the floor. Yeah. Together.
Yeah.
There were men's days and women's days. So it was a part-time job. I worked on men's days, and I learned about, I became fit, I would say my junior year of high school is really the first year that I kind of went out for sports. So I was aware, I knew my way around a universal machine, but this new job was just great because I was able to work out like on a regular basis, and I helped people change their bodies, and it was very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I parked cars at night, and I pumped gas on the weekend. So I had 3 jobs and was going to college on the days that I wasn't working at Jack LaLanne's.
Yeah.
And found this theater thing. I remember just being on stage the first time and feeling oddly comfortable because I'd never done anything in high school. It was a military school, so they
Yeah.
focused on very regimented subjects, naval history, the extracurricular activities. You had your chess club.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I mean, you had math club. It
Yeah.
was just a very different mindset, away at school. So I was never really given a chance to even see if I could like stand up and talk in front of
Yeah.
strangers.
Yeah.
So that was a wonderful experience. And then Dad, he had a friend that was an executive at Universal Studios. He was a television executive, but he had written a book on acting. His name was Tony Barr, and it was called Acting for Film, or no, The Film Actor. And Dad knew Tony and asked Tony if there was room in his night school. Tony taught acting along with two other coaches a couple times a week at the Columbia lot, which was just down the road from Warner Brothers. And so I remember this as if it was yesterday. I'd just gotten a car. I bought a car from a body shop. It was a 1966 Triumph Spitfire, little 4-cylinder, convertible sports car. I paid like $400 for it. Somebody had it painted, brand new paint at the body shop, and then left it there. Like they never came to pick it up. It'd been sitting on the lot for like 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
So I think Dad saw this car like out in front of this body shop on Santa Monica Boulevard. He kept seeing it. He finally went in, and everybody spoke Spanish. And that's one thing. Like Dad would talk to anybody that spoke Spanish. Gas station attendants. We would go to the lumber yard to pick up stuff because Dad was a kind of a hobbyist, a carpenter, like Harrison Ford. He'd make furniture.
Oh, I love that.
He would just speak Spanish to everybody because he was Argentine. He was born in Venice. And so we stopped and he asked this guy if this car by chance might be for sale. And I guess the body shop owner says, yeah, I mean, I guess, like, it's been sitting here for 6 months. And Dad says, what do you want for it? He goes, well, I don't know, $300.
Yeah.
So Dad put me in his car. We went back, and I bought the car. Anyway,
I love it.
I digress. So
no, that's okay. Because I want to ask you. Go ahead. I want to ask you. Do you remember your very first paid job?
Yes.
And how old you were?
I do. I remember because my dad was, during the latter part of my dad's life, obviously the roles for Latino actors really weren't very, Latino actors weren't in demand.
Yeah.
In the early 70s. I mean, really, it's thankfully gone through a tremendous amount of renaissance. I mean, you have actors like Ricardo Montalban and who was a really good friend of Dad, but then Edward James Olmos and comedians like George Lopez. I mean, it's really changed, right?
Yeah.
For the better, for the Latino.
Absolutely.
Latino artists, it's really been amazing. But
Absolutely.
back then it was very, you were stereotyped if you were Latino.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so Dad, he did some television, usually playing like a European wealthy, businessman, or maybe he was like a gangster or something like that.
Yeah.
But, so he started directing television in the mid to late 70s.
Oh,
and
wow.
He was directing a show called Switch with Eddie Albert and Robert Wagner.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
CBS. And this was 1976. And he brought a script home that he was directing. And he said to me that evening, he said, Lorenzo, let me ask you something. And by the way, I had been going to the Film Actors Workshop. Right?
Yeah.
I'd been there for 6 months. Laura Rose, my coach, told me just recently from this that I was ready to go out and start to audition, that I was ready to
Oh
go.
my gosh.
Like
Wow.
I could cold read. I got her stamp of approval to get out
Incredible.
and start auditioning. So
Yeah.
I had a couple of auditions. It was just really like a meet and greet. I didn't
Yeah.
really have an agent that was plugged in. Dad's friend, the cowboy star Don Red Berry, had an agent, and Don, for my dad, as a favor to my dad, asked his agent if they would represent me. It was Mike Rosen and associate, Dade Rosen. So yeah, I had a little bit of an agent, but I mean,
Is that who got you your first job? Or when your dad brought home the script?
Here's how it happened. So Dad brought the script home. He said, Lorenzo, there's a very small role in this episode of a young soccer player. And the soccer player is being blackmailed into throwing the game. So would you like to come in and read? I can get you an audition for this part.
Wow.
And so I said, yeah, of course. So I went in and read. So Dad was directing. Who was producing? Oh, gosh. It was probably like 4 or 5 people. The casting agent was in the room.
Yeah.
Dad was in the room. John Pizer. No, that was another show. So I read the part, and there was a very emotional scene where
Wow.
I just hated myself for fixing a game for these crooked people that basically had the goods on me.
Yeah.
They do something that I didn't want to get out, and they made me throw the game. And in the audition, I threw the sides against the wall, and I got very upset, very angry. I started crying angry tears. And
Wow.
And everybody in the room was like, wow, that really good, Lorenzo. Like, great.
Yeah.
So that was my first television role. And I got
goodness.
I got my SAG card because John Pizer, that's who it was. John Pizer, the producer. Back in those days, you were able to get a SAG card without going Taft-Hartley. Okay, so Taft-Hartley in a nutshell is if you do a non-speaking role, but you're featured on camera, right? Yeah. Where the audience says, okay, well, that's somebody. He's not talking, but he's featured.
Yeah.
The next time you do an on-camera with a line of dialogue, they can Taft-Hartley you, and you can get a Screen Actors Guild card.
Okay.
So I didn't have that prior appearance on another show, but John Pizer said there were exceptions. If a producer called SAG and said, we've exhausted all possibilities, there's absolutely no one on the planet that can play this Czechoslovakian soccer player. Lorenzo. So
nice.
Yeah, but back then, you check some boxes and you're in, right?
They saw something very special in you, because I would think that would be kind of rare.
Yeah, it was rare, and I think because Dad was working as a director in a lot of the productions. I mean, he did a lot of spelling shows. He did a lot of Lorimar shows. He was a very busy television director.
Amazing.
So I think because he was busy in the television world, and I was just breaking into it, casting agents were becoming aware that I was out there, because I would go in. I wouldn't get the part all the time, but I would read, and I would read decent. I just knew it wasn't the right look for that role.
Exactly.
They would remember me. So that started happening quite regularly. And then I met Alan Carr at the Governor's Ball when I escorted my mom to the Academy Awards in 1977, right? So my mom, Arlene Dahl, famous actress.
Yeah.
My dad, by the way, his name was Fernando Lamas. Okay.
Yeah.
So my mom asked me to escort her to the Academy Awards that year. She was flying in from New York. I was living in Los Angeles, and I said, of course.
Yeah.
Took her to the Academy Awards, which was a mind-blowing experience for this 18-year-old.
Yeah, incredible.
Wow, well, like you just watch this stuff on TV, and all these people are bigger than life, and there I am sitting 4 rows behind, Sylvester Stallone, who was up for Best Actor.
Amazing.
So that was an amazing award ceremony, because that was the year that Stallone won Best Actor, and his script, Best Screenplay, and
unbelievable.
And John Advilson, the director of that movie, was nominated for Best Director.
Wow.
And it won. Bill Conti wrote this amazing score, Gonna Fly Now. I mean,
it's one of the best ever. Yeah.
It was that was an amazing, I mean, if you're going to go to an Academy Awards and once in your life, that was a great year to attend. But afterwards, so we all went to the Governor's Ball. It was at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in the Grand Ballroom. Excuse me. And I was sitting at a table with my mom, and, I mean, Richard Burton and Liz Taylor were like 2 tables over. I mean, it was just
goodness.
It was a heady experience,
Yeah.
This naive 18-year-old, fresh out of military school, in New Jersey. And I'm like, at the Academy Awards.
I love it. I love it.
That's another thing that I'll just touch on. I didn't grow up in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
I didn't grow up playing with Jane Fonda's kids or Peter Fonda's kids, or, my parents entertained rarely, but, it wasn't like I grew up knowing all these other kids of famous parents. So when I went away to school, people thought I was a freak because they heard that I had famous parents, but these kids were too young to know who my parents were. Yeah. So they just made fun of me.
Yeah.
I was just the brunt of all these jokes about being like, oh, there's Moneybags over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's Lame Ass. He's got famous parents that we don't know. It's like, it was just a freaky thing.
Yeah.
So I'm there at the Governor's Ball, and Shirley Eater, who was a very prominent publicist at the time, PR lady at the time, and a friend of my mom's, she came over to our table and she goes, Arlene, you've got to introduce Lorenzo to Alan Carr. Alan Carr was a very flamboyant producer, manager. He managed Anne Margaret.
My goodness. I knew the name sounded familiar. Wow.
He started out in the industry as a manager.
Yeah.
Big name manager. Get him booked in Vegas and all this kind of thing. I just remember Anne Margaret because freaking Anne Margaret.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. But he was getting into production. He's getting into producing movies.
Oh, wow.
He was going to be producing the motion picture musical Grease.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah. So
that's where I remember you from first.
Right. So Shirley Eater comes over to Mom's table. She goes, Arlene, you've got to introduce Lorenzo to Alan Carr. He's going to start casting for this movie Grease. And Mom said, oh, sure, let's go. So she grabs him by the tie. And we go over to Alan Carr's table, and of course, he recognizes Mom right away. I mean, my mom walks into a room, and all the silverware gets put on the table. You're in a restaurant, everything stops, right?
Oh, I love that.
Talking, she commanded the room. I mean, she was she was a glamour star. Like she was an old world movie star from the
gorgeous.
Talking Jane Russell. Ava Gardner, right? Yeah. Lana Turner. She was one of those women.
Yes.
So she walks up to Alan. Of course, Alan, being the flamboyant person that he was, is just gushing over my mom. Just absolutely. Oh my God. To what do I owe this pleasure? And Mom goes, hello, Alan. Well, I'd like you to meet my son, Lorenzo. And he just barely was able to steal his eyes away from my mom to look at me for like a second. And then back at my mom, he goes, oh, nice to meet you. She goes, no, Alan, you don't understand. Lorenzo is going to be a star.
Oh.
I just wanted to die. I wanted to just roll up and like a piece of carpet lint.
Yeah. Oh, Mom.
Napkin that somebody dropped, and I just wanted to disappear. And then he looked at me, though, and he looked at me. After Mom said that he's going to be a star, he goes, "Oh, really? Well, let's see what kind of." Oh, okay. Well, he's tall, right? Good teeth. Okay.
Yeah.
So he said, "Lorenzo, a pleasure to meet you. Have your agent call me tomorrow. I'm at Paramount." And I said, I was kind of in like shock. I said,
"Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Thank you, Mr. Carr.
Yeah.
Call me Alan."
Wow.
I was like on cloud nine. Like this was the best evening of my life.
Amazing.
I told my agent about it. He said, fine. He called the office like in a couple of days, and they just said, "Oh, thank you. We'll leave a message for Mr. Carr," and we never heard back.
Yeah.
Because I guess what had happened is they had already been in production. They had cast all the major roles. All the T-Birds were cast. John.
Oh my goodness.
Cast. Olivia was cast.
Yeah.
Didi Khan. All the French ladies were cast. T-Birds were. There really wasn't anything for him to offer me.
Yeah.
At that point, until Stephen Ford dropped out of the rehearsals as Tom, as the job.
Oh my goodness.
So Stephen Ford is Gerald Ford's son. He had begun to carve himself a little decent acting career.
Yeah.
He was getting cast in a few things. He was blonde.
Okay, he was blonde.
He was blonde for real. So they cast him as Tom, but I guess during the rehearsals, things weren't working out for him. He was not comfortable with the dancing or the movement or whatever it was.
Oh my goodness.
And so Alan called my agent and he said, there might be something for Lorenzo. Can he come to the office? So I ran over there to Paramount, went up to Alan's office, and he said, so we have a thing where we lost our Tom. Would you be interested in playing that role? There are no lines. And I said, well, yeah.
Exactly.
To be in a Paramount movie with
I'm in.
With my crush, Olivia Newton-John.
Exactly.
You don't even have to ask. I mean, I'm there. You want me to move on to the lot tomorrow? Like, what's going on? And he said, okay, great. Now, one more thing. Would you mind dyeing your hair? And I said, what color? Because I would have dyed it purple. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Wow.
He goes, well, blonde. You need to be blonde because Tom is blonde and John has very dark hair, and you guys could be practically brothers if I put you guys side by side on camera. So you need to be blonde.
Yeah.
So there I was the next day in the chair at Jose Iber, Beverly Hills.
Oh my goodness.
Having my hair dyed blonde to be in that movie. And to this day, Kelly, it is the movie that most people remember me.
Seriously, isn't that crazy?
All the crazy movies that I did in the 90s, the movies and all that stuff, and Falcon Crest and Renegade.
Yeah.
It's that movie where
it's amazing.
I didn't have one single line. The only line I had in the movie was one that I kind of made up off camera.
Yeah. At
the bonfire scene, but that wasn't scripted.
It was Hi.
Yeah, Hi.
I remember.
Yeah, it was weird because Randall Kleiser, the director, gave a lot of room to the characters to try to kind of find their way and make their own. Now,
I love that.
You know, Jamie Donnelly and Didi Khan and Michael Tucci, Barry Pearl, John, Jeff Conaway.
Amazing.
Stockard. They'd all done the musical on stage.
Oh my gosh! I did not know that.
John played Duty on Broadway. John was one of the T-Birds.
Oh my gosh!
And Jeff Conaway actually played Danny.
Wow.
Right. So now Jeff is Kaniki, and John is Dodie, and John is delivering. Man, he is delivering he is delivering Danny like nobody's business. Like
Yeah.
I had seen the musical on Broadway because I was back east in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And my mom had arranged for my junior class to go on a bus trip into the city to see the musical.
Oh my goodness.
I was very popular that week.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I was
sure.
very popular, knowing that my friends were going to owe me something for getting them all in to see the Broadway play. Because number one, we were stuck on that campus. It was a military school. We didn't get out.
Goodness.
A couple of weekends a month, you'd get to go to town and bowl. You know.
Wow. Yeah.
Tom's River. Not a lot going on
that.
Tom's River. But so we all got on the bus, and it was a big thing, and everybody snuck Seagram's 7, and it was a great night.
Yeah.
And but you know, again, like I said, everybody was rehearsed. They all knew their roles. I was just like this goat, you know, on this mountain, looking for my herd because I've just stuck up there on a ledge, not really knowing how to get down. But Pat Birch, who was the choreographer of the movie, she was absolutely phenomenal. She came out. I go to the lot first day of shooting, but we weren't shooting. We were still in rehearsals. We weren't shooting. These were rehearsing the dance numbers. So I go to one of the sound stages. They're rehearsing Grease Lightning. Right?
Yeah, I love it. Lorenzo, hold that thought because we'll be right back with more with the amazing Lorenzo Lamas right after this.
Unwind by the water at South Shore Harbor Resort, the premier waterfront getaway located just south of Houston. We are the ultimate getaway with a range of activities for all ages. Soak up the sun by our refreshing pool or spend a day on the water. Pamper yourself at the relaxing spa and savor delicious cuisine at our on-site restaurants. Book your stay now and enjoy a rejuvenating vacation experience. South Shore Harbor Resort and Conference Center. It's time to enjoy.
Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events wants you to come party with us. We're bringing the fun to the Houston Bay Area. Stay tuned for all of our incredible events throughout the year, featuring amazing food and drinks, live entertainment, special guests, and so much more. Fun, new, different. Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events is where you want to be. So come party with us. It's more than a yacht. It's serendipity.
All right, and we're back.
Yes, we are back.
The amazing Lorenzo Lamas, everybody. I know. It's exciting. Okay, so you said you went to, we're talking about when he was in Greece, of course,
right,
which
the first day
and crazy
was I was to report to the soundstage where they were rehearsing the number, that big great number, Grease Lightning, with the hot rod,
so
and
fun,
all that stuff. And John is up on a hoist, sitting on a 327 engine, and they're lowering the engine. And I was like, wow, I'm looking at this like real time.
Oh
and
my gosh.
The choreographer comes over to me. She sees me sitting in a corner, and she comes over. She goes, "Hi, I'm Pat Birch. I'm the choreographer. You must be Lorenzo." And we shake hands, and she goes, "So nice to meet you. So I guess you heard that we've had some trouble with Tom." And I go, "Well, how can I help?" She goes, "Well, have you ever danced before? Do you have any dancing experience?" And I go, "Well, I go to the disco a lot." This is 1977.
My weekends off.
No, this is 1977. Donna Summer, Casey and the Sunshine Band. This was the height of disco, man. I mean, this was
Love
like
it.
a Friday and Saturday night. I was at Rex's Fish Market on Sunset Boulevard almost every night, dancing my ass off. You know, sweating through my my polyester,
your satin shirt,
my satin shirt. So
with the big collar, of course.
She absolutely laughed, and this was like Saturday Night Fever had just come out, like before.
Oh, so good.
So she goes, "Okay, well, do you have any formal training?" And I go, "No, unless you count karate. I take taekwondo."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Okay, so you're flexible." I go, "Yeah, I can do a split." And I dropped down and did a split. Right?
Oh, wow.
She goes, "Oh, wow. Okay, well, I'll file that away." She goes, "Well, show me some moves." So, I did a little bit of the hustle because I knew that, right?
Love it.
And she goes, "Okay, all right, well, good. It's better than the last time we had."
That's hysterical.
But
I
that was
love it.
it. That was the beginning of a wonderful 6 weeks of shooting for
Yeah.
me. It was
Amazing.
August of 1977. I'd say the only low point of the whole shoot
Yeah.
was the day we were doing the carnival scene at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it was a 3-day shoot, and one of those 3 days was the day that Elvis Presley died.
Oh
So
my
there was
goodness.
a huge, like you could feel it. It was kind of
That's
everybody was
awful.
bummed out, and we had to juice it up. And,
Oh my goodness.
at the end of the movie, they do this big number, and it's just everybody was just kind of
Yeah.
sad. And I was crushed because I was huge Elvis fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I played
my
his records at
gosh.
school, up
Yeah.
on deck after
Yeah.
studying all before taps. I
Oh
had
wow. Yeah.
I had, I mean, a lot of rock records too. Like the best time of music was
Yeah.
when I was a teenager, right? I mean,
Oh my
Led
goodness.
Zeppelin,
Yeah.
and Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many iconic Eagles, so many iconic
Oh yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So that was really one of the best, if not the best, film experiences that I've ever had.
So
the
fun.
camaraderie.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So Lorenzo, a lot of my viewers remember you, well, not only from Greece, but Falcon Crest. So
Yeah.
9 seasons. You were nominated for 2 Soap Opera Digest Awards and a Golden Globe. And if people don't know this was very cool to know. You are the only one who was on all 227 episodes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I had a very good agent. That was my second.
Yeah.
That
Well,
deal.
Well,
But
how did you end up getting that role? Do you remember?
I auditioned for that role.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anybody, like Dad
Yeah.
calling up Lorimar and saying, "See my kid," right? So
Yeah.
I went in to audition several times. I had like 2 or 3 callbacks.
Wow.
The last callback was at CBS Television City on
Yeah.
Fairfax, and I remember the particular scene. I was reading with the character that played Cole, right?
Yeah.
So it was a Lance and Cole scene. Now Cole was Lance's nemesis,
Yeah.
right? They were born to hate each other from different families, and it was
Yeah.
all about the wine country and one family against another, like trying to ruin each other's crops and trying to
Yeah.
steal land, and like it was like Dallas with grapes. Basically.
Exactly.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of drama going on, a lot of like catty stuff happening
Yeah.
between the women, and it was just a great show. I mean,
It was so good.
that was
so
the show in that decade, the 80s. It was the decade of excess, just
Yeah.
in general, right? I mean, Ron Reagan fixed the economy,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, let's just buy everything.
Yeah.
We're doing so good. Our businesses are flourishing.
Exactly.
Let's get that Lamborghini, damn it.
Yeah.
I want that. I want to go to Bloomingdale's and get that Bob Mackie dress. God damn it. So, I mean, everybody was going crazy. And
Yeah.
these shows like Dynasty, who I'm very good friends with John James, who
Oh,
one of my peers.
love that.
He was on Dynasty. I was on Falcon Crest. Another good friend of mine, Charlene Tilton, Dallas.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
had Flamingo Road, Morgan Fairchild, who later came on Falcon Crest.
Yeah.
On Flamingo Road. All these wonderful shows, and but I auditioned. So the last audition I had, I happened to be reading with the actor, one of the actors that was playing Cole.
oh my goodness.
Billy Moses, and we were sitting in kind of like a waiting area. There were 2 other actors auditioning in front of there were like the whole network was there. It seemed like there was a room for
Wow.
15 people.
Oh
there,
my goodness.
all around fold up tables.
Yeah.
There was a space in the middle of the room
Yeah.
for the actors to do their scene.
Yeah.
So I look at Billy, and we're like the only 2. We're like the last 2, And I look at Billy and said, "Hey, I'm Lorenzo. I'm reading for Lance." He goes, "I knew that. I could have told you who you were reading for." "Well, I'm Bill Moses, and I'm reading for Cole." I go,
Oh
"How
my
are you? Nice to meet
goodness.
you."
Yeah.
And he said, "I got an idea." I go, "What?" He goes, "Let's tell them that we want to come in and do the scene together
Oh,
instead of you going in first and then me going in after."
I love that.
I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh my goodness.
Two better than one."
Yeah.
So the casting agent came out and she said, "Lorenzo," and I said, "Well, hold on a second. Would you go in and would you ask the director if I could read my scene with Bill Moses
Yeah.
as Cole? And I'd be happy to read Cole after,
Yeah.
but can we go in with me as Lance and him as Cole?"
Yeah.
And she went in the office and she came out. She says, "Yeah, come on, go do it." So Bill and I rehearsed the scene before we went in,
Yeah.
and we went in and we nailed it.
Yeah. That is awesome.
We were both off script.
Oh,
We didn't have our pages in our hands. We got in each other's faces, and when the scene was ended, we held that look in each other's face, like we were
amazing.
going to punch each other.
Yeah.
And then the woman who normally would be reading the dialogue said, "Okay, well, that was great." And everybody was like, "Wow, that was great, wasn't it?" "Yeah, that was terrific. We should do more of that. Have them read together." And
Oh my goodness.
and so they said, "Okay, thank you both." And we left. They didn't ask us to stay and read each other's parts.
Wow. Yeah.
And we were both cast.
Incredible. That is amazing
There were
story.
probably 10 people reading for each of our roles.
Yeah. Incredible.
And Billy thought of that idea and it got us the role.
Amazing.
We were in. So we went up to shoot the pilot in February. There were no grapes growing anywhere. All the vines were completely barren. So they had to truck up in big, production design trucks, all these fake vineyards. And they placed them in the background, right?
That's
like
hilarious.
3 or 4 rows. I remember the director saying, "Well, we're never coming up in February again. That's for sure." Because there weren't any grapes anywhere.
Amazing.
But we did the pilot, and the pilot was called The Vintage Years. It wasn't Falcon Crest.
Yeah, I read that. That's interesting.
And Robert Foxworth was not playing Chase Giaberti. It was Clu Gulager.
Oh my goodness.
And Susan Sullivan was not playing Maggie Giaberti. That was played by, what was her name? An English actress, really, really very well known. That I can't remember her name right now. But Billy and I were obviously Jane, and who else was Chow Li, the Chinese butler?
Yeah,
he was in the pilot episode.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah, so I guess we all had a feeling that it's a CBS show. They needed a show to follow Dallas on Friday nights. It was Dukes of Hazzard in Dallas.
Yeah,
they wanted to put us in at 10 o'clock. So the network was really hoping that this would be okay, that the show would be good. And we went right. I mean, we shot the pilot in February, and we were picked up for 22 episodes for their first season by, I think, May.
Amazing. So, and that was what I wanted to ask you that, because when you're shooting something like this that is being planned for, hopefully a long life, did you really feel like this is really cool? This has got a great cast. This has got a shot to be pretty big. Did you have that feeling?
Well, again, in my very limited experience in the industry, I was just 21. I did Grease when I was 19.
Oh my goodness!
I've just been in the business for about 3.5 years. So,
oh my goodness!
I was very green, very naive.
Wow.
Didn't know a lot. I certainly didn't know whether the show was going to have the kind of legs that it ended up having.
Yeah.
But there was one sign that kind of told me that we might have a shot at this, right?
Yeah.
And that was when Bob Foxworth showed up for his first day of shooting in a brand new Maserati Quadriporte. So he must know something.
Yeah.
He's buying a new Maserati, right? And we haven't even done like one season of the show yet, right?
Oh
So
my goodness.
he probably knew. Of course, you know,
Yeah.
Bob Foxworth had a history of experience, right? Both on stage and on film. David Selby also, Susan Sullivan also.
Amazing. Yeah.
They must have known more than me and more than I did, or Billy, or, you know.
Oh yeah.
We were just happy to be there.
Oh yeah. Did you find that that y'all were pretty close as a cast?
Oh,
as
very
filming kept going. Yeah, see,
Yeah,
that's
we had
nice.
a bowling team. The cast and crew went out Thursday nights to bowl.
Oh, I love that.
At the Pickwick, you know, at the bowling alley in Burbank, right?
Yeah, I love that.
A regular thing. And I also had a golfing. I also golfed in a foursome with 4 guys from the crew. Like we did that every weekend.
Oh, see, that's really wonderful.
It was really a lovely experience. I grew as an actor on that show. I had such wonderful mentors, especially Jane, you know, especially Jane. So yeah, it was great.
I love it. I want to ask you, because I think so few actors have that blessing of being on a show that runs that long. What do you remember about being the hardest part of filming something that keeps going and going and going?
Well,
you know?
it limits other possible roles that you would be going up for, you know, in either other television series or motion pictures. You know, I mean, you've heard the stories about actors that, you know, do X amount of years on television, and they're frustrated because they feel like there's something bigger out there for me. You know?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you've heard the stories of the actors that felt that there was something like waiting for them on the big screen that never materialized, and then they end up going back to television, but in a much lesser role. I really didn't have any of those feelings.
That's good.
I was really happy to be working. And I had a very good agent. He's still my agent, actually.
Yeah. Wow.
Who was able to get me motion pictures in an action vein that weren't big studio pictures, but they were decent enough. They had a decent enough budget.
Yeah.
And in those days, they went to VHS. They went to videotape.
Oh yeah.
So I was able to really satisfy my hunger to play other kinds of roles besides the rich, snobby, grandson of Jane Wyman. You know, that's when I did these movies up in Canada called like Snake Eater.
Love that.
Impact and Terminal Justice and all these straight video movies. It really helped kind of satisfy my desire to do other things. And I could bring the action into it, where I had some limited action on Falcon Crest, but it was only because I pressed the writers to open that up a little bit more for me, you know?
Nice.
And it was nice. Yeah. But I didn't really feel too hemmed in, and I was allowed to help, you know, write a little bit of where my character's arc was going from season to season.
Oh my goodness.
I was given quite a bit of
creative freedom
to do that, you know. As long as you know, Lance was always going to be the Doberman to Jane Wyman's matriarch, you know. Yeah. Her control. Yeah. I was always going to be her, you know, her hitman. Yeah. But I talked the writers into writing some story arcs that showed more of the sensitive side of Lance, however fleeting, you know, because he'd always go back to being the asshole. But the writers were able to write some storylines where you actually thought maybe there was a heart in there somewhere, like they did with Larry Hagman, you know, as they are, you know. Yeah. I felt it was important dimensionally to offer the audience some change, you know, a little bit of a color here and there, you know, so it wasn't so one note. You know?
I love that. Okay, so Lorenzo, thank you so much for
it was great
being on the show.
Yeah, it was really great fun.
So much fun.
Really
yeah, getting to know you and hear about your amazing life. It's really been exciting. So thank you so much for that.
No, I love your energy. I love your energy.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. So keep it up.
I will. I'm going to try. I love it.
You're going to do it. You'll do it.
All right. Guys, you can watch The Kelly Williams Show anytime on the Your Home TV network. Yeah, we hope you have an awesome and blessed rest of your day. Thank y'all so much.
Bye-bye, everybody.